I was always told that as for self-defense, I should always carry a pepper spray with me. Well, I was fortunate enough not to get into a situation that I would be needing it. Actually, I lied. There was a slight incident many years ago during the daytime, but believe me, the pepper spray was the last thing I was going after that moment. These days, a lot of people are interested in martial arts, whether it's for self-defending purpose or just to compete. It doesn't really matter. Is Wing Tsun Kung Fu part of martial arts? Let's get the answer from my today's guest after the break.
The VMEA show is sponsored by the following people.
We're back after the break, and I'm not by myself. I have a guest today who's going to explain more about martial arts and things that are related to it, but not really part of it. I would like to welcome a Kung Fu master, Ralph HAENEL.
Hey, nice. Thanks for having me, Mia.
Ralph, how much I can thank you, because I wouldn't be sitting in this beautiful chair if it wasn't for you.
It's extra for you.
Where did you find this?
That's actually my daughter's chair.
Well, she's with us. I hope she's not upset with me. That's why
No.
she's talking to me very little today, because I took her queen chair. Well, thank you very much for letting us to peek into your life in this beautiful sunny weather. We're going to be talking, of course, about your passion, which is also your job, right?
Yes.
I've talked to somebody before. We had one of your, I don't know, students before who was talking about martial arts. But I learned from you that martial arts and Wing Tsun Kung Fu, they're two different things.
So martial arts you can see as the general term and then split it into three different groups. There's some martial arts that focus on competition, winning medals, trophies. It's great sport for many. Then there are martial arts that focus on the health aspect solely. For example, Tai Chi for many. You see sometimes people do the exercises, the very slow ones in the parks, about breathing, meditation. And then there's pure self-defense. And of course some martial arts are better for the self-defense aspect. I'm doing this now for a long time, so I've never looked back doing anything else but Wing Tsun Kung Fu, since the self-defense situation in itself, you have to think the attacker who's in front of you might be taller, stronger, faster, more aggressive, so you're outnumbered already to start with.
Yeah. So, okay, so now Wing Tsun Kung Fu. Why Wing Tsun Kung Fu? You have to explain these words to me.
Kung Fu is also a general term for Chinese martial arts. There are numbers that there are between 400 to 500, possibly more, different Kung Fu styles. And Wing Tsun stands for this particular 100% self-defense system that I learned not in China, not in Hong Kong, but in Germany of all places.
Oh yeah, I wanted to go back to your past, because I know you came to Canada a few years ago, but you came from Europe, you came from Germany.
Yes.
What do you do here? I know you train. You're really involved in what you do. This is what you used to do in Germany as well?
I started out 30 years ago when I was still in a different job as a hobby. Actually, it was from the beginning a passion. You have seen a movie, you've seen people flying through the air doing magical things, and as a teenager or even before that, you're excited and think, is this something that I can do one day? And I ended up with a Kung Fu system, learning it in the beginning, and due to circumstances I also had to teach it from the first day on. So this is how I ended up right from the beginning, having a group of people that I taught while I was still learning, and never stopped.
That's good. So you came here and you carried on what you started in Germany. And I've heard that you have really interesting stories to say about your upbringing and your life in Germany. And I don't even want to ask you, because when you start to speak, you will have to finish, and we will need another 2 days for that.
Probably,
yes.
Yes.
But we can learn more about you and what you do on your website, which is wingtsunkungfu.com. We have this on the poster, but we also, by this time, could see it on the screen. When you gave me first time your business card, it said something right in front of your name. It's called SIFU.
Yes.
What does that mean?
SIFU is a term that stands for the trainer, instructor aspect, but many Kung Fu styles were also traditionally taught within the family, from one family member to the other. So SIFU can also be translated or seen as the father figure, the teacher, the head of the school, and is there are other terms like Sihing, the older Kung Fu brother, and CJ, the older Kung Fu sister, so which still points back to the old traditions. And SIFU stands for father, teacher, someone who has the also, yes, someone who has the responsibility for their students to educate them well so that they don't get into fights in the first place.
Well, tell me, what do you do while being involved with Wing Tsun Kung Fu? I know you train, I know you have your location. Do you train outside, by the way, sometimes?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of...
This is a beautiful place to train when the weather is nice. I went to see you in the studio, and the studio suddenly in a few minutes got so packed, it was like 30 people. Except that, besides the training, what else do you do?
Of course, training, teaching, continuing to learn myself is the major part. That's what I do 7 days a week.
So you keep learning as well?
Oh, it just never stops. It would be horrible if I would say, oh, I'm done, there's nothing I can learn anymore, then you would have to push me off my chair. And
you can just hang yourself after that, right? So yeah, in terms of teaching other than training, you have to learn as well, right?
Yes.
You have to be in the learning process for the rest of your life. So what, do you take seminars, or do you, what do you
yes, and I have a lot of students who have been previously in other martial arts, SIFUs. They have been black belts, even masters in their professions, and they came to Wing Chun because of this particular self-defense aspect. And they, having been teachers in their styles, plus what I have learned and continue to learn from my teachers, how to teach, teaching methods, learning methods, this keeps going and going, and I constantly work on it to improve it. Also due to the range of age of my students, different backgrounds that they come from master of a martial art to somebody who has never had anything to do with martial arts altogether. That's the exciting part.
I know. So your students, when they come to you first time, they usually have no experience, or do they?
Everything from absolutely no experience. We have to show how to make a fist, what a confrontation even means, what the difference is between a sport where there are rules, a referee, weight classes, and the self-defense scenario on the street where none of it exists, to people who have a certain level of experience, and I work with all of them.
Well, the one thing I have to notice that was very interesting to look at your students when I was watching you, the huge difference, like age group.
Yes.
You had people in early 20s, but I saw the ladies in their 70s.
Yes, so some of our students, they started around 16, 17, they're 18, 19 now. Then it goes all the way through to 50s, 60s, and even past 70. That's an important aspect especially in Wing Chun. We say that the martial art should not just be taught to possibly destroy, as bad as this sounds, so to defeat and attacker, but also to heal, meaning you learn also meditation aspects, you work your muscular balance, you improve your posture, you improve your confidence. Those are all aspects that are so much more important than learning how to fight. And that's why it's interesting for people from all walks of life, all ages, so that the one lady that you saw that's a bit older, who also still teaches yoga, still comes to Wing Tsun because she sees how certain ideas come across that exist in yoga and in Wing Tsun.
So they can link actually.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not an interesting point was about not only that gap between the age groups, but also that they were not behind those young ones.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think I would like to meet those ladies like face to face, because they were very confident what they were doing.
Yeah, with every year that you get older, you also learn what you can do, and you're much more aware, as opposed to going all out there and not really knowing your borders. And you appreciate the progress that you make. I had some students that started around the age of 40. They had already neck problems, headaches from certain physical jobs, from other sports that had used one side of the body more than the other. And they learned through this training to recover, to improve their posture, to feel better about themselves, to be happy, like many others.
I know. We hear a lot of happiness behind the cameras, right, today. But that's good. I mean, the good weather brought the people outside. So like you said, that Kung Fu, Wing Tsun, that also works on your mental aspect, not only physically?
Yeah, if we look only at two sets of principles, we have fighting and strength principles. The fighting principles, four of them, the first one, if you cannot, what I teach my students first, if you can walk away, run away, it's a good thing. Even if you're a big guy, even if you're strong and fit, get away if you are about to get into a confrontation. You do not have to fight.
Yeah.
Second, try to talk your way out of it. Tell this person, oh wow, you're a huge guy, I had a rough day, just let me go.
That's what I wonder.
I don't want to fight you. This is okay. Even if somebody says, oh, you're a wuss and you're afraid of me, say, yes, I am. Go away, you don't need to fight. You never know in what kind of trouble you could get to. And then the fighting principles teach you, if you cannot avoid it at all, then to go forward into this scenario. The second, stay with what comes, meaning to hang on to the person literally. You appear to be clinging to this person. If the person is stronger, to yield to it, and then to close the gap, to keep attacking on all levels, with your kicks, with your knees, with your elbows, hands, even your shoulders. Your whole body becomes a weapon.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like I'm watching you moving. I can see that you can't wait to get up and show something, which we will very soon. That's why you have to involve your mind.
Yes.
You can't really work with your muscles and the body.
You can use those fighting principles even in a workplace. Imagine there's a problem. There's somebody in the office that bothers you. You have to go forward. You have to address the problem. You have to go to it. If the person says, oh, no, it wasn't me, but you know for sure, stick to it. Say, no, we need to talk this out. I want to have this solved now. If there's a stronger argument, I call it the mental bong sao, so you yield to it, but wherever there's a gap, you go forward, so you stand up for yourself. You appear confident so that nobody picks on you.
Yeah, I really like what you just said right now. That's what a lot of people, many of us, we have problem with, to initiate things or start something, because everybody wants to stay away from the conflict. Everybody's trying to get away from there. Don't think that we get into this beautiful area just to sit here and talk about, because I want to see demonstration. I want to really see physically what Ralph can show us, and stay with us because we're going to be back after the break.
The VMEA show is sponsored by the following people.
So I have Ralph HAENEL with us today on the VMEA show. Ralph, we didn't mention one thing before we get into all the demonstration. The reality of self-defense. Oh, this is your book?
Yes.
You wrote this book?
Yes.
You know what I like? Discover the difference between sport-orientated martial arts and realistic self-defense. It's a very interesting statement. So you wrote this book, and we can get this book
also via the website.
Through your website,
yes,
so which is
yes.
wingtsunkungfu.com. We've seen it on the screen. Do you want to say briefly about, is it just the learning, teaching techniques?
I started originally to write it because a lot of people ask the same question. So is this a sport? Can I compete? What is self-defense? So I started to write first newsletters to my students, different little chapters as explanations, and eventually it all came together. Hey, this fits now into a book. I've written so much material that explains the background, how to train, what to look for in a teacher even, what to look for in a martial arts school, to also find out what do you want. Do you want to go compete? Do you want to just work somewhere in a health aspect, or do you want self-defense? So that people have this basically as a manual checklist to say, okay, I want to go for this or that. Also, what is involved in self-defense? How do I have to train? What do I have to look out for in my progress? What do I want to achieve?
But if you say that some people come for self-defense and some they want to compete, do you put all these groups in one group, or you have to be individually?
No. I would even say if somebody says, I want to compete, and I would say, okay, this is not what we do, then I would recommend another school where they go to, because I wouldn't want to cheat somebody and say, I do something that actually isn't happening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we are missing some demonstration. I know that you have a lot of students that were supposed to come, but who would want to be in the shoot when do you see somebody?
Oh, I see a gentleman over there.
What? And coincidences, our executive producer Rick Vallin just
How did that happen?
Walking by.
I like to see what we can show. Like, what do you think that you can show us first?
For example, let's say any kind of attack that comes into my space. So as I said initially, because I couldn't run away, it just happened instantly. Rick completely surprised me. I didn't even have time to talk my way out of it. So now what happens is the attack, I have to assume I cannot move it out of the way, that I'm simply not strong enough, that Rick would, bam, take me. At the same time, I need to go to the most important part. A lot of times people say, so what's more dangerous? Is it a punch, if he's slapping me in the face, if he would be kicking me? And I said, none of those. What's the most dangerous? It's the brain, because imagine Rick is now the bad boy that he thinks he can take me out. Because a lot of times people tell me, but you're good at what you do, so you don't have to worry about it. I say, no, if somebody wants to take me out, I have to worry just like everybody else. So now in this scenario, I would be going forward to get him where all these tiny little people sit behind the controls that send the punch, the kick, the knee strike in to get them off their chairs, as opposed to just dealing with a punch, but it hasn't stopped him. And now a next action comes and it hasn't stopped him. So that's why in Wing Tsun's moment something comes towards me, we go instantly in, so to also see that he cannot, for example, get us with a knee strike, so that we're not running accidentally into an elbow strike, and that from where we are, that he has missed his target.
So you want to tell me that nothing can surprise you? None of his move would surprise you?
That's what I would love to say, but the point is we're all in the end still human beings. So there can always be a surprise. Anybody can get beaten. Just a lot of times martial arts masters like to think that they're unbeatable, which is also not true.
Like, so what are you watching when you get attacked? What is...
I want to be capable of employing my peripheral vision so that I'm not just getting drawn in by somebody who with gestures or is in front of me yelling, and I get led into a tunnel vision, start to tense up. So I want to maintain the peripheral vision so that at the same time I see where's his left foot, where's his right foot, does he get ready in order to kick me.
You see the whole picture.
Yes, and that's why you take on a position where you say, whoa, what's going on? Can I get past you? But at the same time, while you have a non-threatening position, you are already ready to fight if it should become necessary. Can you imagine? Rick is yelling at me, I'm going to take you out. And I would say, why don't you try? Of course, he would go for it. But by attempting to dissolve the scenario by saying, wow, you look way too strong for me. Can I get past you? We try to get around it. Yet, the moment when he comes forward, we're ready to move in.
That is very quick, Ralph. Very quick. That's amazing.
You inspire us.
Yeah, oh yeah. I am. I wish I didn't. Well, thank you very much, Rick. That was great, because what I'd like to ask you, if we can maybe, can you teach me?
Oh, absolutely. We'll do this.
So
why don't I put this down for you? Now imagine.
Self-defense, right? I'm not a attacker.
Relax. No, you're the good girl. I'm the bad boy.
Well, please leave me alone.
So we assume there's a scenario happening where you get completely surprised. Somebody is getting into your comfort zone. That's anyway going to happen. There, you won't find a person who says, may I touch you? No, somebody had a few drinks and thinks, hey, how are you? And comes into your comfort zone where you think, what is happening? Can I do something? But now in the next moment, the arms are around it. So now most important part, I know it's difficult when you're in the eye of the storm, is to learn to relax. This is what our training does over time. No. It takes time.
Yeah, I can tell, I can negotiate, right? I can say,
absolutely.
Can you let me relax?
And that's already good. You have already your hands up. As if you're down on Commercial Drive, you do the Italian bit, say, hey, what's the matter with you?
Well, I would probably use the Eastern European style.
Pretty similar. So now we imagine the scenario has happened. So now somebody is about to grab you, or somebody gets to your clothes. Do not try to pry them off, because again, the most dangerous part is here, that somebody dares to get into your space, somebody dares to touch you, that they think this is okay. So now, for example, having your shoulders relaxed, nothing is happening. So the moment the person comes in, and you know now you could not prevent it, this is where you would go for what we call the general, where all the decisions happen, and BAM! Come in and now see what you have available. Your knee. The person is close. You know you can't run away, so you might as well go in, as if the person comes into your space. The moment you would move back, initially, he's still coming in. You might as well say, okay, I have to take him out. You say, baby, I'm coming to you.
Okay, so
now at this moment, I'll get to you, and you know it is serious, because you realize, you probably smell the alcohol, and you realize in the posture, in the demeanor of the person, this is not fun anymore, this is serious. So that's also what we learn in training, to make a distinction. And now, for example, your hands would lead you with the fingers to get the eyes, because you don't want to work against the muscles, because you're not ready to go into an arm wrestling match with the person.
So I play with his eyes.
Oh, yeah. You're much worse than I am.
Okay, I know.
So you would shock him, have the person that was going into your space, and now all your fear, all your anger, all your frustration you use, and while you're still holding on, whoa!
I had to use
you didn't even see this. So and now you have the chance to get away, to run away. What would you yell? Just imagine it's a side street, already getting dark. What would you yell?
911.
Most people say, help, help.
Well, you know what, it's so difficult when somebody says, what would you do if?
Yes.
You know, when that if comes, I'll tell you what I would do. But you're right, you know, you have to be prepared. I guess.
Fire.
Yeah.
Because everybody's concerned about their property, as if you yell, oh, your Mercedes is on fire.
Yeah.
So, and then somebody would come out as opposed to just yelling help. But the most important part is the moment it happens, you couldn't get away, you couldn't talk your way out of it. Touch. As if you sink into it, and the person that dared to get into your space, can you show us again? So, with both of you.
Yeah. So I have to feel comfortable.
Yes.
I can't show the fear.
Yes.
That's what you're telling me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Put your fear into it. Put your anger, your frustration, everything into it, your emotions.
Yeah.
It's a very emotional thing.
Oh, I'm scared what happened. You know what you're showing me to me, I'm sure after so many years you have experience with people that they benefited from this.
Yes.
Did you have any story you can share?
Yes. Since we're just talking about you as a woman defending yourself, it happened many years ago in a school of mine in Germany. A young lady came to my classes, and just as we talked now, I was always asking her, so do you have any questions? No. How is it working out with your partner? It's okay. Okay, everybody communicates differently. That is all right. So she never smiled really, and one day she came into the school smiling, almost gave me a hug and was all upbeat. And I thought, what is going on? And she still could not really talk. Eventually we sat down, and then it came out of her and she started to talk, and her whole story. She unfortunately, many years prior to it, had been raped and had lived with the outcome of it, and at one point thought, okay, I have to learn to defend myself. Started out, and now the unthinkable, it's almost one of the stories where you say, hey, this can't be true. She was outside of a supermarket, was about to get into her car, and suddenly behind her somebody grabbed the shoulder, and she turned around, and as we just said, she smelled the alcohol on his breath, and he was talking something to her, and she just, everything came through, turned around, pum, 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 went, the person fell down, was probably just shaking a little bit on the ground. She turned around, got into her car, turned it on, drove around the corner, a couple of blocks, stopped, and she said, and then she started to cry and half scream, cry, laugh, everything. She said anybody who watched her probably, they called 911. So the training had helped her to defeat the demons in the past and had helped her to gain back her confidence. So what better story outcome could there be?
Yeah,
that was amazing.
And thank you very much. So this is the famous cup. Your signature is still missing. Thank you all very much. And we're going to see all of you again next week. Bye-bye.